Hey there, welcome to Marketing Monday. My name is Natalie Armstrong-Motin. We got a cup of coffee ready, off and going for the week. Mocha latte. That's a good choice. So I want to tell you a little bit of a story. I live in Normandy, France, which is very rural, and my husband, French, had gone off on a business trip, and he was flying back into Charles de Gaulle. So we decided while he was at the international airport, I would pick him up and we would go for a little road trip. Beautiful, romantic, lovely idea. Here's what happened. Get the car loaded up, get everything settled in. About an hour into the trip, I realized that my GPS isn't working. My phone isn't charging. My iPhone is dead. No GPS is going to make it really difficult for me, a person who is driving for the first time on her own from the country into the city of Paris to the airport. This is not an easy traverse for locals even, right? So I pull off the auto route into a service station, and I'm thinking, well, it's the cable or the little adapter that goes into the cigarette lighter. So I check those, nothing, no go, no joy. Nuts. So I quick buy replacements. I don't know if it's the cable, I don't know if it's the adapter, so I buy both. Head out to the car, rip them open, plug them in, charging. Still not okay. Still me traveling alone across the countryside with no GPS. Now I kind of know the general direction I want to go. I can follow the signs into Paris, but traveling through the city, that's a whole other story. So I think, well, I'm old. I've got a redundant system. I know how to read a map. Good old-fashioned paper map. So I dash back into the service station and I'm sort of looking. Turns out paper maps are truly redundant. Everybody has GPS. There were no paper maps for sale. So I'm stepping outside and I'm thinking about, do I ask a total stranger if I can quick look at their map, get it in my mind, and then hope that my memory is good enough to get me there? Just then, an airport shuttle bus pulls in to fill up gas. And it says on the light up marquee that that's Charles de Gaulle Airport. So I dash over to my car, start the engine, spin around the roundabout, get back to the gas station, and I tuck right in behind that shuttle bus. And sure enough, follow the shuttle bus to Charles de Gaulle. I get there, I get to the arrivals gate, pick up my gorgeous husband, and off we go on our road trip. But this got me to thinking about how we as business people can rely on shiny, cool things like GPS and not having to know the road. That can sometimes get us in trouble. I mean, if you're on a familiar road, you're confident, you're sure of your skills, etc. But what happens when the shiny new thing fails you? What do? Well, you go to the redundant system, the paper map, but the paper map's not available. Now what? So today's video is short and sweet, but let's think about how that story applies to you building your practice. I think number one, the most important thing is check your connections, right? Digital channels are the same as my failed cigarette lighter adapter thing. So when you start out with the shiny new adapter and cable, great. Just like you invest in an email platform or a social media schedule or a fancy new website, right? But sometimes the deepest problem is maybe the newest gadget, a dead socket. And in that case, a fancy tool is not going to help your potential clients get plugged into your practice. So be sure that you audit your channels. Make sure that each one is actually reaching your potential clients. Just like testing if your power adapter works in your car. Then you want to prioritize reliability over novelty. We can all get caught up in AI and all the fun, fancy things, but if your LinkedIn post gets traction, but your shiny new X account is just gathering tumbleweeds. You want to double down on what works and stay on LinkedIn. Do it better, do it smarter, go faster, go harder. And then also maintain the basics. You want to keep your email list clean and keep a steady posting schedule if you're doing newsletters, email campaigns, blogging. The most important of maintaining the basics, of course, is networking face to face. You can write, speak, train, network, most importantly, and then augment all of that with social media, but maintain the basics. You've already built really strong ties with colleagues and clients and prospective clients. So now you want to reinforce those connections with really reliable, tried and true channels before chasing the next shiny object. Next on my list that I wanted to mention to you is sort of embrace the analogs. I just said networking, that is absolutely the most important. So an analog in my story would be the paper map. What is your analog? What is your paper map? Obviously, networking is the most important, but when my digital GPS failed, the simplest backup was a paper map, which ironically wasn't for sale. But in marketing, that old school tool, like networking, speaking engagements, newsletters, postcards, thank you notes, holiday greeting cards, that's absolutely gold. So don't let the old analog standards slide away in exchange for the fancy, shiny tech digital thing. My paper map wouldn't have required a battery. Traditional methods don't require algorithms, right? So in a sort of step-by-step process, I think, list your analog options. What do you have available? Local bar associations, speaking events, community workshops, getting referrals from, past clients or trusted clients. You could also allocate a small budget for printing business cards or sponsoring a mediation focused event, right? You could also be sure that you are measuring consistency. So track which of your analog channels bring in inquiries, just like you sort of note the map's usefulness at each junction. Make sure that you're tracking yourself on that road. So measure your consistency. Which networking events work best? Which groups work the best? Which speaking event gets you the most attention to your practice? And I know it might feel old-fashioned, but these roots of business development really anchor your practice and keep you visible when algorithms shift under your feet. Algorithms, we don't have any control over algorithms, but we do have control over those old-fashioned analog business building skills and tools that we have. The next thing on my notes that I wanted to talk about is follow the shuttle. That guy knew where he was going, and I was lucky enough to spot him, recognize that he knew where he was going, and that I needed to essentially copy him. You could do the same. Don't copy, but do the same. And this is sort of a competitive intelligence idea. You want to follow the thought leaders in our industry. Do a SWOT analysis. So I had no map to buy. I spotted the shuttle bus. I tucked in behind it. I followed it unwaveringly. In building your practice, you can kind of do the same by tracking what top mediators in your niche or in like niches are doing. My shuttle bus's marquee was akin to your competitors' visible successes. So identify what they're doing right. What are they doing really, really well? Are they filling workshops? Are they getting articles published? Are they getting the speaking events? When they step into a networking event, are people approaching them as opposed to them having to approach potential clients? Really observe their route. What topics do they cover? What event formats do they use? And then you want to adapt your practice, marketing techniques, don't copy, adapt, take an inspiration from what those thought leaders are really doing right, and tailor their strategies to your unique voice and expertise. So you're not cheating by following, and you're learning. And each turn that you follow them on brings you closer to your own version of my husband's arrival gate. So test your connections, keep your analog backups, learn from the best. And then, like my could have been disastrous drive into Paris, your path may present unexpected roadblocks. Things happen in life, but check your basics. Keep simple backups, follow those who have gone before you, and you'll just glide right in, just like I did. You'll be ready to welcome new clients and reclaim the joy of guiding every conversation. All right. So, great marketing is like navigating a city that you love. It takes patience, a willingness to pivot, and the courage to follow good examples when the road ahead looks uncertain. Look, you've got this. If you feel like you don't quite have a handle on it, let's hit the road together. Call me, find me in the comments. Tell me your story of where you got lost or misguided and how you found your way out or didn't. I'd love to hear a story too. All right, take care. Be good humans. Bye-bye.